And Charlie, you'll have to actually give me permission to share, okay?
Hi, good evening, everyone, and good afternoon. We will be starting in 2 to 3 minutes, and we are waiting for more participants to join.
Okay, let's start. Assalamu alaikum. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining today's webinar being organized by the Institute of Financial Accountants. Salia, I would like if you can just if you want to do the introductions first, and I'll take the discussion forward from there.
Yeah, sure. Hello, everyone. Good evening. Uh, I'm Saliha, Assistant Manager to Sulman Ehsan, who is the Regional Director of Saudi Arabia and Bahrain. On behalf of IFA, I warmly welcome you all to today's webinar on the fraud risk in a digital age, and we are delighted to have such a diverse audience with us today. And our speaker is Mr. Hazik Nishat Akhtar, and who will give our valuable expertise and insights on this critical topic. So, first of all, I would like to introduce IFA. Sir, can you please share the screen and IFA introductory slide?
Yes.
Yeah, IFA, Institute of IFA Financial Accountant, is established in 1916 and is an internationally recognized professional accountancy membership body. And we are a full member of the International Federation of Accountants as well. And at the IFA, we put SMEs first. We recognize their role as a vital wealth creators, as employers to more than half of the UK's private sector workforce, and as the power behind vibrant urban and rural communities. And it's also the Institute of Public Accountants. And as a professional accountancy body, we aim to provide the very best support and guidance to our members who operate within this arena, frequently tailoring policies and recommendations to meet the unique challenges and trading relationship associated with smaller businesses. So, now we move forward to our speaker introduction. I would like to give a little introduction about our today's speaker, Sir Hazik Nishat. He's a partner, risk, financial crimes and transaction advisory at Vatik Management, and a member of firm of ATH Guideline Group. So he has a great expertise in ESG advisory, and he's also a fellow member of the Institute of Financial and Public Accountant, fellow member of Association of Chartered Certified Accountant and the Institute of Forensic Accountants of Pakistan. And we are delighted to have Sir Hazik Nishat with us today. So, sir, I would now like to hand over the session to you. You can continue.
Thank you.
And yeah, thank you, sir.
Thank you so much, Salia, for the kind introduction about the institute and myself. Just a bit of a background first, inshallah, and then we dive into the presentation for which we're all here for. And I would like to personally thank all the attendees who are attending this session, especially on a Saturday. So thank you so much for taking out the time and being part of this important session. I hope there are excellent takeaways for you all from this session, and you're more informed at least after at the end of the session as you were when you joined. So, as Salia mentioned, I have almost 2 decades of experience. Currently, I work with a management consulting firm based out of my office here in Riyadh. The firm is called ATH Gadlang Group as a whole in the region, and I represent their member firm known as Vatek Management Consulting Company. Before joining here, I was a partner in a global firm called Forwest Mazars, based out of Bahrain. And before that, I was a partner in BDO. So I've got a diverse experience in multi-jurisdictional role across different regions, UK, GCC, multiple GCC countries, and Pakistan as well. So, my experience basically primarily stems from risk, financial crimes, and transaction advisory services. As Alia mentioned, I am a fellow member of the Institute of Financial Accountants and the Public Accountants UK and Australia, the IPA group as a whole. and I'm also a fellow member of the Association of Chartered Certified Accountants, ACCA UK. I also have the privilege of being a fellow member of the Institute of Forensic Accountants of Pakistan. It's one of the premier bodies leading the forensic and fraud related agendas for the country. So today's topic is very unique in terms of and very relevant in terms of what we are basically seeing in the market as a whole. For the purposes of the discussion, what I've done is that I've kept the discussion a little focused on the numbers of the region, rather than being a little at the global level. But there is a lot of discussion in here, which would also stem from my experience, particularly when I worked for organizations outside of this region. So as far as the kingdom is concerned, when we look at the data, when we look at the fraud reports, when we look at the reports from the regulatory authorities, from the government, from SAMA, what we see is that there are 52% of all fraud-related activities have been basically classified as digital fraud now. So the other portion of the fraud, obviously, traditional frauds are also still there. They're very prevalent nonetheless. But now what we see is basically that digital frauds are basically taking the front seat. The environment is changing. It's very dynamic. The people who are involved, the fraudsters, are also really changing. The vector attacks are also changing. We're going to discuss those in detail during this presentation as well. But you can clearly see, the trend from the traditional frauds have actually shifted towards more digital frauds. Primarily, number one, because of its convenience. It's very easy to actually access a lot of data at any given point in time, and to impact a lot of the a lot of the size of people who can be affected by this is huge. So what we've seen since the rise of AI, this is obviously the age of AI. So since the rise of AI, we've seen these scams increase somewhere in the range of 300%. As consultants and as advisors to different organizations at the at the level of the board, these discussions are the discussions that have been happening at seriously at the very top, very high level. And it's a very alarming situation that, where we see that AI has done tremendous amount of good. It has made lives so much easier for in certain very areas that has improved the quality of life for us. On the same front, we see that frauds being on the rise because of the use of AI. In Saudi Arabia right now, if we are to put a number, we see that the fraud detection and prevention market size. This is not the size of the fraud, in general. This is the size of fraud detection and prevention activities, which basically means organizations or the government or the regulators spend in terms of activities to prevent or to detect fraud, and the number represents the figures from 2025. So dollar 470 million have been spent. Now this is a significant amount of spend. Even in today's day and age as we speak, this, I believe, in my humble opinion, that this is still very less in order to combat what's happening in the market. So moving on. As for your knowledge, the what you see here is the top 5 digital fraud risks that I'm going to share with you, and this has been again gathered via the market intelligence that we have deployed, and we see these 5 specifically, these 5 fraud risks prevalent in the market. Number one being phishing and social engineering. As you understand, phishing has been around for significantly long time. You receive phishing emails, spam emails now and again from a lot of these fraudsters trying to get you to open those emails so they can install a malware, or they can trick you into some kind of revealing your passwords, or all those kind of things. But now we see that it has basically been, amalgamating with something which we call social engineering. So now they're more, because of the, as we said, because of the rise of AI, these have become a lot more, realistic. So we need to be very careful now with these phishing emails, because the use of AI to generate these emails is now really, really profound. So, deepfake calls, to trick employees into transferring funds or sharing credentials like your, email or your password, or let's say your OTPs. All these things have really shifted from how traditionally these things were being looked at. The second thing that we see, again, stemming from the traditional backgrounds, is basically the invoice and payment fraud. So, fake invoices, altered bank details, or employees involved in collusion with your third party vendors, kind of like maneuvering funds into their accounts via these, official channels. So that we see that this is one of the prevailing frauds of the day and age as well. Again, with the help of AI, it has enhanced significantly. Identity theft and synthetic identity IDs. I think this was very prominent some time back, still prevalent, because now obviously everything is digitalized. Everything, your identity is obviously all over. Social media. You use LinkedIn for professional networking. Your emails, your accounting, everything now is basically digitalized. It's all either at your premises, or in a cloud somewhere, managed by, let's say, a third party, maybe Amazon or somebody. So these things, Google Drives, OneDrives, they carry a lot of your personal informations as well. And they are definitely susceptible to some kind of theft, right? So people can actually steal your identity, make synthetic IDs out of it. AI chatbots can be put in place and try to obtain or access your bank accounts through that, or impersonate someone which they are not. So these things are still very prevalent, and we see that this is also happening in this very region as well. The fourth one again is ransomware and cyber extortion. So this basically goes back to point number one, phishing emails. Mostly you see ransomwares and extortion, cyber extortions come to you via either WhatsApp message or through emails, trying to make you click a link, and then they automatically install some kind of malware to your system. They encrypt your data, and if and then they ask for money, in terms if they want to release, hand that data back to you. So these kind of things really are prevalent in the market, and if there are no controls in place to manage this, then organizations do tend to get into trouble. Especially the small and medium-sized organizations, where there are smaller budgets. Organizations do not really work on their internal controls. Their cybersecurity controls are really loose. There no formal segregation of duties. So we'll discuss this in detail, inshallah, in the next slide. But I'm just giving you a feeler of how these top five risks are prevalent. And why do I say small and medium-sized entities? Number one, because being a member of IFA, number one, and number two, the discussion being from an IFA perspective, most of the organizations that we do deal with as IFA members fall into that particular category, small and medium size. The fifth fraud that we see, ranking at number 5, is fraud and digital payments fraud. So again, this is one of the traditional frauds that have already been there, but again, with the introduction of the digital age and AI, this again has become really, really challenging for individuals and for organizations to prevent such incidences from happening. Uh, let's talk a little bit about the attack vectors. There are multiple attack vectors that we see, and that you, as individuals and organizations in general, need to be a little careful about. Number one, again, most obvious one, is emails and messaging. So what tends to happen is that you get phishing emails, you get BEC scams, and then there are malicious attachments in those emails and SMS and chat apps. You click them, and rest is history. So that's one of the most common attack vectors that we see, that people would try to manipulate you through. The other obviously is through fraudulent apps in mobiles. There are a lot of apps right now. It's obviously, again, as I said, AI digital age. So there are a lot of apps, fake banking apps that do come up. SIM swapping apps are available in the market very easily. There are malware driven apps, again, in the market, targeting smartphones or Androids as well. There are abundance of these. So this is another area which we need to be really careful and really be careful about, because this is again one of those vectors that can easily get a lot of data from your phones, from your laptops, just by clicking these apps, or just by installing them through Google app or from Play Store into your phones. The third thing that we see is through the e-commerce and payments platforms. So again, today is the day and age of online purchases. Everybody loves to buy, whether it's food, grocery. The age of convenience comes with age of fraud as well. So e-commerce and payment platforms are, again, are used very frequently by fraudsters to trick people into doing fraudulent transactions, and they skim card details. They make fake storefront accounts, and you go believing that this is a genuine store. You buy those goods, the goods never arrive, and you're out of your money from your credit card. Even maybe your credentials of credit cards have been stolen. So again, this is something which is huge in the market, and we need to be really prepared and beware of such websites or payment platforms that we use. Number 4 is our traditional supply chain and vendor fraud. These has been prevalent for decades in organizations, with the collusion between the employee, or the collusion between employee and third parties, their vendors. It's easy. It has been a medium in the past, and still we see that this fraud is still there. Even in the digital age, it has become a little more complicated to detect at this stage. It's easier for these fraudsters to hide these things because of sheer massive amount of data that these organizations hold. So that's basically number 4. And number 5 at this stage is basically the insider threat. So again, as I said, supply chain and vendors, you all try and collude with your internal employees to give unauthorized data access to different people, credentials misuse, selling trade secrets outside of the organization. There could be a lot of things that can be done through collusion. And this again, collusion is something that even the ACFE guidelines basically suggest is something that you cannot really work around. There's no preventive measures to see foresee collusions happening. You can only add controls to prevent certain things in a preventive sense. But if there are collusions at multiple levels of the organizations, then it is very hard to actually detect these things. So, so what we do, as a matter of changing the landscape. Now that's obviously there. Now we need effective detection techniques. As accountants, as auditors, as people who are from this fraternity, as a chief, as a certified fraud examiner, you need to have effective detection techniques put in place to make sure that these frauds, are basically highlighted. And just so I mention here, basically, I'm open to questions as well. So if there are any questions, you can put them into the chat box. I can take it simultaneously. I can also take it at the end of the discussion as well. But however, you feel you would want to basically have a discussion around this. It's all on you guys. So if there is anything, if I'm going too fast, just let me know. I'll slow down a bit, or you would want any other further discussions anywhere. More than happy. Just use the chat box, put your comments there, put your questions there, and we'll definitely get back to you. So we're basically discussing the effective detection techniques that we foresee. And in my experience, I'll tell you a couple of them, which I feel are truly the ones where you can really secure a lot of things. One of which, and my personal favorite, is MFA. It's called multi-factor authentication. It's a newer technique in the market. It has been there for some time, but it's fairly new, which requires you to authenticate something twice. So let's say if you're opening something in your laptop, it would also ask you to download an app, and then you need to authenticate things on both sides. So you put your credentials in the laptop, you put your user ID, you put your password. It will send an alert to your phone, and you'll have to authenticate it via that app. So there are a lot of authenticated apps available in the market. Microsoft uses it, Google uses it. You can get your own as well. If you working on other things, for instance, if let's say your accounting is on Zoho, your payroll is on Zoho, you can use there as well. We've seen people using it very effectively, and it is a single most effective technique to actually block a lot of automated attacks. Previously, traditionally, what we have seen in the past is that if I am interested in doing a fraud, so I have to, let's say, get personally involved with, let's say, personally with a couple of accounts, and try to get some kind of access there. But now, since it's a digital age, AI, I can attack multiple systems at any given point in time. I really don't need to be limited to certain things, and that's why you see a lot of automated attacks happening. So they shoot one email, it goes to a million people. And then from those million, people who some at least a couple of thousand click on that link, and from from those couple of hundred, then start that discussion, and take things forward from there. And eventually they fall prey to these guys. So MFA, one of the most effective ways to block these automated attacks from happening. The other that I really am a proponent and an advocate of is transaction monitoring. So you need to set alerts. Most banks, as you see right now, have alerts, and these alerts can be different things. These alerts can be amounts. These alerts can be destinations. So, for instance, if you are traveling, you use your credit card or your debit card, let's say outside of your base jurisdiction. At times it gives you an alert. At times it just blocks your card if you've not informed them that you're going to use your card outside of your base jurisdiction. Sometimes it depends on the frequency of transactions. So, there's a smaller amount of transactions, let's say, so that it does not get noticed. But, there are 100 transactions of that same amount, very small amount, but same amount, 100 transactions. So it can be, those alerts can be based on frequencies as well. Similarly, unusual amounts, never seen that kind of amount within your accounts. You can set those kind of boundaries in terms of transaction monitoring structure, so they flag those transactions before anything is where there is no point of return, right? So you flag these transactions and deviate from established baselines. Whenever that happens, you have the ability to really respond very quickly. The other thing that we do as for in terms of detection is basically something that we call anomaly detection and red flags. So if there is an anomaly, let's say a duplicate invoice, so the system, what we do is that we program systems accordingly in a way that the system is capable of actually recognizing that. So if there is, let's say, one invoice that, let's say, goes to a vendor every single month, but in a particular month we see two invoices there. Now it could be due to a logical reason. There could be some genuine reasoning behind it, but it's an exception. So the rules are all obviously there to hold that exception in place, right? There are other things that genuinely happen. Accordingly, if you are detecting anomalies, we see unnecessary rounding off or rounding down of payments. Similarly, we see, there's a change in vendor, but or the vendor is same, but then there's a sudden change in his credentials. Like you used to send money to a particular account, now you're sending it to another account. So all these things, require some kind of authorization. It will flag, it will, red flag all these kind of transactions, and then you have to go and intervene. And if they are genuine, you will look at it. If they are genuine, then you give them the go ahead, the system the go ahead to release these transactions. The other thing, obviously, it is, I think it's one of the most important things that we need to do is basically do employee awareness sessions, train employees on these things, because regular training is the only way you can make sure that these activities are kept at an arm's length distance. What we have seen in the past is that most of these frauds are all basically due to human errors. There's very less chances of fraud if your system at your end is automated, and because automated systems usually work on particular codes, on particular commands. So there is no way an automated system can make a mistake and fall prey to these guys. But in term, when there is obviously human interaction, there is human decision making put in place. It is only there where we see most of the frauds, like 90% of the frauds happening, because somebody was very interested in clicking a link which said that if you click the link, I'll give you a recipe of becoming a millionaire in a week. So we need to basically be very careful on this. Need to train our employees to a certain degree, and not just because again, as I said, it's a human error, so it can happen to anybody, right? So it's not just about training employees, it's also about once this happens, if God forbid anything such happens within your organization or to yourself, you have to understand, or you have to know who to report to, who's the authority that's going to basically take action within your organization and outside of your organization. who is impacted by this breach, what kind of data has been stolen, what is the impact of this, of this leak to your organization, to the individuals who are affected. So, all these things need to be very clear within an organization. So when you train an employee, you just not train them with regards to their do's and don'ts. You also train them in on how to react if such things happen. So not to make things worse. So we talked about detection. My personal favorite topic is prevention, because we would want, as a certified fraud examiner, as a fellow member of the Institute of Forensic Accountant, what we want to do is basically prevent these things from happening. Because at the detection days it's already too late, right? So we want to prevent it. It should not happen. The controls should be strong enough to be put in place, so no such thing actually happens. Again, as I said, even the last point in the previous slide was to train staff. The first point over here is to train staff on a regular basis. So there should be fraud awareness workshops within the organization. There should be simulations being run with regards to how your employees react, because if those simulations, if you run simulations within your organizations regularly, there's very less chances of employees clicking on something which they shouldn't click on in the first place, right? Because their mind will go, firstly, this could be an internal simulation, right? So you need to basically have this regular awareness session within your organization. These regular workshops need to happen, so that the employees are well trained. They have, it's not something on the back burner of their minds. It's something really, the security is really something which is in their forefront. And then the other thing that we do in terms of prevention activities is called access control and segregation. So there are segregation of duties. We make SOD matrices, sort matrices, and then we test those sort matrices as well. So in terms of segregation of duties, we try and limit access of one particular individual to their particular role. Now, as I said previously as well, if you remember, I talked about that this is very important in a small and medium-sized business setting. The most discussions are that we're going to have is from that perspective. This tend to become a problem in SMEs, because there's a lot of times there's kind of like one man show happening. So if there's an uh, you know if there is a finance and an account department, most of the time there are one or two people just managing everything. They're managing the reconciliations, they're managing the payments, they're managing the account payables, they're managing the receivables, they're also managing, responsible for banking and treasury operations. So everything is being done by, let's say, one or two employees. So in those perspectives, this gets very, very difficult to actually put in place. But this is again something which is very effective in making sure that if your employee is colluding with, let's say, somebody, he is not able to do that in his individual capacity. So that's something which is very important. Then we have something which we call software and system hygiene. Again, from a small and medium business perspective, this is something which usually organizations tend to, let's say, be very relaxed upon. But this is something that we need to take very seriously, even if it's a very small business. We need to be we need to make sure that your system is at the highest updated level. There are no system upgrades waiting in the pipeline. Your system needs to be updated very frequently. There should be some kind of endpoint protections enabled within your organization. So, for instance, if the endpoint is a laptop, so within an organization, an employee uses a laptop, and that's the endpoint of a particular data set. So let's say the USB ports needs to be closed, so that there is no data leakage there. Nobody can steal data via that. Similarly, let's say if the endpoint is your phone, you're using something which you can use on laptop, you can also use on your phone. So there should be, preventive endpoint protection systems put in place into your phone as well. That maybe, let's say, you cannot take screenshots. I've seen personally right now there are a lot of banking apps where you cannot actually save screenshots. They allow you to download a particular, let's say, transaction detail in a PDF form. Some apps really don't allow you to do that as well. But taking screenshots of such things is, and again, a problem. So you need to have to deploy some kind of endpoint protection. Similarly, using encryptions for your records. That is very important. So even if, let's say, your data is stolen, your credentials are stolen, anybody using it, let's say they copied it from your system, and then they're trying to opening it into their system. All they should be able to see is basically gibberish. So they should not be able to actually see the correct data. Should all be jumbled up. So things like that need to be put in place as far as the prevention of these things are concerned. Number four, vendor verification protocols. Again, banks call this KYC, know your customer, know your vendor. They do it very frequently. It's also a requirement for your AML requirements as well. So for anti-money laundering purposes as well, there's a lot of due diligence that is done. Customer due diligence, CDD, or enhanced due diligences if there is more risk, especially in cases of PPs, if a person is politically exposed. So there are a lot of verification protocols that are put in place. Again, we see more of these with financial institutions because again they have big budgets, their stakes are very high. Small and medium-sized businesses usually again rely on very one or two word of mouth kind of verification protocols. However, they need to make sure that they are independently verifying their vendors, their communication, the mode of communications, their credentials in terms of banking details, so on and so forth. So there should not be any kind of changes to the approved vendor list without proper authorization, or there should not be any deletion in it. You cannot add a vendor there, you cannot delete something from there. So these kind of things tend to become very important at times, right? The other is cyber insurance coverage. So this is something, again, not from a preventive perspective in terms of preventing fraud, but let's say preventing the outcome of it. So let's say if a data breach does happen, and your organization held, let's say if you're a travel agency, you held data of individuals' personal data like passports, passport copies, and their date of birth, their full legal names, all those kind of things. So in that event, if that data is stolen with regards to your organization, you should have some kind of cyber insurance coverage put in place, so that if there are legal claims on you, this insurance is there to cover it up. So these are, I believe, in my opinion, in my experience from up until now, that these five things at least need to be in place, even in the context of a small or medium businesses. This is again an important discussion that I wanted to put forward to you guys, the listeners of this webinar, is incident response. So when we talk about fraud risk in general in a digital age, we're just not talking about preventing it or detecting it, but we need to be very clear on how to basically respond. Let's say if any incident just does take place. So is your organization's business continuity plan, BCP, or disaster recovery plan, the DRP, or the business resilience plan as a whole for your at a strategic level of at your organization, is capable enough to cover these things? So as far as the incident response goes, we look at three things in particular. Number one is how to protect. So we've already talked about prevention and detection methods, but we need to also make sure that, let's say, if a breach happens in one particular domain, that system or that particular server. We need to basically isolate that so it does not spread to, let's say, to the entirety of the organization. So for instance, if somebody attacked your organization, and let's say the vector was a phishing email, and it went to the HR department, and they opened it, and they lost control of their systems. They took over the systems, they took the data from the HR system. So they need to be basically then isolated so that, though they do not travel to the finance department as well, then from finance to procurement. This is something that we need to basically make sure. This is what I basically recommend to my clients as well. In terms of protection, we need to be very clear when we put an incident response plan in place. If anything happens in a particular domain, the first thing that we do is basically isolate it from the overall system. Then comes basically respond. How you're basically going to respond, and this is something, the organizations really need to train their employees as well on these things. That if something happens, rather than panic, they need to basically understand the protocol, the SOP that an organization has put in place. To make sure that things do not go from bad to worse. So you need to notify the customers whose data has been affected. That's obviously number one. Let's say if it's an internal breach, so the data that was lost was HR records. So it's your employee records that has been breached, right? So you need to tell the employees as well. Let's say it's the insurance records. So you need not just tell the employees, you need to actually tell their families as well, because most organizations obviously cover, when they do insure your employees, they insure their spouses, their kids. So if that is breached, so it's not just the employee data that has been lost, that it's other things as well that has gone out. So you need to basically inform first the person who is technically affected by it. Number two, you need to inform the regulator. So in case of, if it's a financial services organization, someone needs to be informed. If it's any other organization in the kingdom, Sadaya needs to be informed, right? And then you take a decision whether to hire or engage a consultant, like myself, like more other people, to involve in forensic investigators to make sure two things. Number one, the extent of loss that they are foreseeing, the extent of damage that has happened, and number two, how exactly did it happen, who was involved, how to make sure that it doesn't happen again. And you document your actions with timestamps, that this is where the breach happened, this is where we isolated the system, this is where we informed the particular person who was affected, this is where we informed the regulatory authorities, all the steps we've taken, check, and now we are basically involving a third party to make sure that we understand the magnitude of and the impact of that particular breach. The third thing which ties into your BCP and DRP plans is basically recover. So, how do you recover systems? Somebody came in, installed a malware, your system is down. How do you, really restore that system to be authentic, and to make sure that that system now does not have any information which is irrelevant or wrong for that matter. So obviously the backups do come into play here very effectively. Um, then you obviously implement patches as well, where the breach, where you've seen that breach. You do penetration and vulnerability testing regularly to make sure that this does not happen. Similarly, you conduct a post-incident review so that there is no future breaches as well. And then you update your fraud prevention plan. So there's an anti-fraud policy put in place. There is a fraud risk framework put in place within organizations. And that's how you basically respond and recover to these things. Now, in certain context in the kingdom, this is a legal requirement. It's a legal obligation under Saudi Arabia's anti-cybercrime law. It is also a requirement for from Sadaya through their personal data protection PDPL law as well, as to how you're going to put an entire framework in place to make sure that these breaches, number one, do not happen. Number two, if they do happen, what's your plan to respond? How exactly are you going to respond to it? Who are you going to report into? And there are significant penalties, by the way, upwards to 5 million Saudi riyals if these protocols are not established and are not followed. So in the kingdom, this has been taken very seriously. There has been a couple of breaches at very high level at the government level. But there has yet to be any reported significant losses because of this. So that's why the regulators take this very, very seriously, and this is something that really needs and requires a lot of attention. The regulator will not basically accept an excuse that because the business was small, or the size of the breach is small, so that's why these controls were not in place, or that's why they were not complying with these regulations. They will just go ahead and penalize you to highest degree and try and make an example out of you. So therefore, it is very, very important. The other thing that needs to be looked at in this context is it's not just the it's not just the financial fine that you are about to face. If there is if there is a negligence that is proved in the court of law, there is 2 years of imprisonment as well. So this is not something which should be taken very lightly. It is something that we have to take very seriously. So in the context of Saudi Arabia, as we mentioned, it's SAMA's anti-fraud framework that plays a very important role. All the discussions that we've had above in terms of how to prevent or detect these things, the SAMA anti-fraud framework talks about. The other, as I mentioned, is Sadaya's personal data protection law. It has been fully enforced in the kingdom, and non-compliance, as I said, hold penalties. The other thing that we definitely look at as consultants is the NCA, National Cybersecurity Authority. They have put their standards in place to make sure that the critical infrastructure within organizations are secured. And in a global context, Saudi Arabia basically ranks second, in terms of its ITU cybersecurity index. It's an index. It's a very prestige, and there's a lot of effort has happened in the kingdom to make sure that this to achieve the second rank. And any discussion in terms of the Saudi Arabia context is incomplete when we do not talk about the Vision 2030. If you look at the digital agenda, there is a AI driven cyber crime defense goal, for especially for fintech organizations there. So it doesn't matter if it's a small fintech, it's a big fintech, it's a bank, it's other organizations in general, small entities, small businesses, family-owned businesses. These are the things that really, really need to be looked at. So I'm just going to sum it up. We're hitting the 7 o'clock benchmark, my time, so I won't be taking more, because I need to open the session for questions as well. The key takeaways and call to action from here on for the participants who are attending this webinar. Number one, know your threats. Very, very important. What these vectors are, and how can they impact your organization, or from where are you going to face these attacks from. Enable MFA everywhere. it goes without saying, as I said, it is the single most effective defense against unauthorized access. Monitor transactions actively. Do not rely on, don't be complacent. Don't be, relaxed. Set automated alerts where you can to try and identify unusual patterns. Number four, as I said, train your people. Do not look at it as an expense. Look at it as an investment. This is very, very, very important. Number five is basically have a response plan in place. As I said, this is again comes from a legislative requirement. However, as a matter of best practice as well, you need to have a response plan put in place. So start today. Pick one measure from this list and implement it this week within your organization or as individuals within your within your daily sphere. So with that, I conclude today's webinar. It was an interesting topic. I tried and keep it as general as possible. Not bore you with a lot of technical details. Maybe we'll have, inshallah, another session. I'll try to go into specific more details in more scenarios where we can do a more interactive session. However, if there are any questions that you would want to ask, I'm more than happy to answer them right now as well. Or you can leave your questions in the chat box. We'll respond to them via email or other means as well. The floor is open. So Salia, open for questions.
An informative session. Yeah, chat box is open for all the participants. You may ask questions if you have any
And
question
since
regarding this.
people yeah. So since the people would be thinking about those questions, we'll hold back as well. Me and Salia, people who would want to drop out can also drop out. However, before you leave, I just wanted to make one small announcement. My I Based on my experience of as I mentioned, 2 decades, I have also come up with a fictional novel. It's my debut novel. I've put the link in the chat box as well. So if anybody would be interested, please go to that link and it will direct you to the book. The launch of that book is on 10th of April, so stay tuned. It will also be announced via IFA as well on their platforms. But if you would want to sort of go ahead and do some kind of pre-bookings as well, so you can follow that link. And it's a debut novel amongst a lot of others to come in. It's a good read, so I hope you guys enjoy that. Thank you so much. Thank you all. I believe if there are no questions, again, as I said, you can ask the questions here or through the IFA group or through emails as well. I'll put my email down here as well if in the chat box, if there is anybody who would want to coordinate with me with regards to anything, please just do let me know. You can send an email across to me as well, and I'll be more than happy to get back to you. Thank you. Have a good evening.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you, sir, and I would also like to thank you all our participants for joining us today. And I have an important announcement related to IFA members. Those who haven't submit their do it as soon as possible, as it is a very important step for your membership renewal. And if you have already submitted your return, please ensure that you resubmit it if required, and keep a saved PDF copy as proof for your record. So it is very important for your membership renewal status. So yeah, thank you, and thank you, Sir Hazik. The session was very informative and insightful, and we really appreciate you. And thank you all the participants.